to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and I'm so excited to welcome you back to another episode of the Unstoppable Introvert Project. And how's your week going? We are getting through the year, aren't we? We are well into March by the time you're hearing this. The podcast's doing okay. We're ticking over. We are getting these episodes out, and this is the first week that we are working with guests and collaborating and starting to build who we have on the show. So that's so incredibly exciting. You know, we've got quite a few episodes filmed already. We've got episodes lined up as well. So I think my plan for this year was 100 episodes, but now it's 100 episodes, and within that 100 to have as close to 50 guests as possible. Maybe 40 to 50 guests would be amazing, because I think the more voices that introverts can hear will be so helpful to your development. I certainly found that when I was developing myself, and they're not all going to be introverts. They're going to be high achievers in the fields of business, in fitness, in mindset, in high performance, and they're going to really be able to help you become the best versions of yourself. So I am so excited to start to get that done for you. So it's a busy old time. Looking in the video, I can see I've got my beard, bags under my eyes. It's a tough time at the minute in the Hooper household, in the sense that we're grinding it out. My wife has been studying extremely hard for an exam, and she crushed it on Monday, and then this week coming we've got a marathon, and within all of that we're working full-time jobs. I'm trying to build my podcast. I'm trying to get plans in place to start a business in a few months' time as well. So it's all good. You won't find me complaining. And it's early today. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm whispering. I feel like I'm whispering, but hopefully I'm just in my normal sound, because it's 5 a.m. in the morning. And the reason it's 5 a.m. in the morning is because I have got to get these podcasts done outside of working time. So it's got to be done before I leave to go to work, basically. That's a rule I set for myself. And because of that, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and we're getting after it. And the thing I've never really had too much of a problem with is getting up early when I've had to. And today's one of those days where I had to. I've got podcasts to do, man. I've got stuff to get done. It's kind of coming to a crunch point for 2024 for me already, in that I want to take even more action than I currently am. So watch this space. We've got some hugely exciting things coming for the podcast, for other stuff as well. And yeah, got some celebrating to do as well. We've got on YouTube, we've got over 100 subscribers, which is crazy. We're coming up to 50 for the podcast on Spotify. So yeah, we're making moves. They may just be little moves compared to some, but for me that is just so exciting and so incredible, and I'm so thankful. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. David Hooper, on all social media platforms with that handle as well. And of course, make sure you find us on Spotify, and we can continue this journey together. So it's all good. So today is a really exciting topic, and we've got one thing in mind today. It's being able to really grasp the opportunities that are around you, and we're going to really talk about attracting greatness. But before I get into that, my wife and I have got into the habit of something we used to do when we used to date, which is watch scary movies. And last night we were watching Insidious. I don't know if you've seen Insidious, but it's pretty scary. And we started watching it too close to bedtime, and then we went to bed. Remember, we go to bed really early, so this must have only been around 9:15 at night, 9:30, 10:15. And we could hear voices in the house, and we'd been watching something on the laptop earlier in the day, Basically, we've got an old laptop we use for that, and it was making noises like whatever was on the TV or the laptop was coming through the laptop, like the odd word. So freaky. So me and my wife were just lying in bed like, can you hear something? And I had to go and find out what it was. She just sent me off into the darkness. But it was fine. It was a dodgy laptop. And then our hearts were racing though. So it was a rough night last night. But it's all good because we're talking to each other today. Right. Today it's all about attracting what you want into your life, and we're going to talk about how we can do that. There's a couple of techniques that I'm going to go through with you, but this is really going to change your life. If you've heard of The Secret, then you're going to have an idea about this type of stuff, and I'm going to build on The Secret's principles and really kind of give you the science behind it and try and give you an idea of how you can use this in your life. Now, if you haven't come across The Secret, there was a book that was incredibly popular quite a few years ago in the kind of 2000s, I think it was. And then there was a film made about this book. And it's basically, if you think about something enough, it comes into your life. And I'm dumbing that down the best I can. It's a bit woohoo. It's a bit like, I wish for this thing and eventually it'll kind of arrive, which is a little bit what The Secret's kind of about. And a couple of things we're going to be talking about today is the difference between the psychological approach to this kind of stuff, and also something called the RAS, the Reticular Activating System, which is something I go on about a lot, and it's something that you've got to be quite disciplined to do, but it certainly brings your attention to what you want in this world. So the key to your greatest success is not logical, it's psychological. When it comes to psychological, affecting or arising the mind, and it's related to the mental and emotional state of a person. Whereas when it comes to logical, this is when you are trying to make sense. There has to be facts. You have to make good decisions and have healthy behaviors and a conscious mind, which is great, by the way. And I sit in that category quite often, try and be logical. It's like when that noise was happening last night, after we'd watched that scary movie, Insidious, I was lying in bed going, what's the logical outcome here? What's logically going on downstairs? Is it demons in the house? I bloody hope not. Or is it that the laptop is playing up? And I went downstairs, beelined for the laptop, made no eye contact anywhere, straight to the laptop, didn't want any demons to get me, slammed it shut, and managed to have a good night's sleep. And we made it through the night. So yeah, that was, like I say, where I sit quite often in the logical side of things. Whereas the psychological, if I go back to that, it's a bit more messy. It's your unconscious mind, and your emotions and thoughts and feelings are all this swirling hot mess, and you're able to kind of make sense of all that. We're always responding to our thoughts and our feelings about our external reality. So whatever's going on in the world, we're always responding. And there's a great quote: people are disturbed not by things, but the view they take. So remember, from a few weeks ago, we've talked about reframing and looking at things through a different frame or a different perspective, a different point of view, and understanding that new truth from someone else's perspective, from a more positive perspective. And by doing that, you're able to get this fresh outlook on whatever situation you found yourself in. And if again we check back into a few weeks ago around our beliefs, remember there's two types. One, the limiting beliefs that hold you back, and two, the empowering beliefs that push you forward. Now, your beliefs, they limit emotion, they determine behavior, they can become self-fulfilling prophecies. If we don't get a handle on our beliefs, they can take over our lives and they can put us in a situation we don't necessarily want to be in. However, there are ways in which we can take control of what we're thinking about, what we're believing in, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. Let me introduce to you something called the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS, which is a much easier way to say it. Your RAS is often referred to as the brain's gatekeeper. It plays a crucial role in filtering the vast amount of information bombarding our senses every moment of every day. It acts as a selective filter, allowing in only the information that aligns with our goals, our desires, and our beliefs, while blocking out the rest. And do you want to know the best part about this? We have the power to train our RAS to work for us, not against us. So imagine you're in the market for a new car. Suddenly you start noticing the exact make and model everywhere you go. It's not that everyone suddenly decided to buy the same car, it's that your RAS is now tuned into that specific information because it's relevant to you. This phenomenon isn't limited to cars either. It applies to every aspect of your life. Just a funny story on that exact example. Laura and I were buying a car this time last year. It was April 2023, and we were having a good look around. And a car we've always quite liked, and my sisters had this car, was the Nissan Qashqai. And we were like, yeah, it's a good size. We had a little tiny Suzuki back then. And with us having a big Luna dog, we needed a bigger car, I guess. And we were like, oh, the Nissan Qashqai's, like, they've redid it. It looks smart, it looks sleek. That looks good to us. So anyway, the price was right, and we went and got that car. And then we started seeing Nissan Qashqai's everywhere. Like, every single corner. Every time we were on the road, we'd be counting 20, 30, 40, 50 Nissan Qashqais, all because we'd brought our attention to it, and our RAS was now locked in looking for Nissan Qashqais. So as you can imagine, we were like, okay, so maybe this isn't as original as we'd thought. And another one with that is the doggy, our doggy. So we spent a long time thinking of cute little names for dogs and cats. And then when we got our dog, we were like, oh, Luna is a really nice name. Let's go with Luna. We haven't really met many dogs with Luna as the name. And then there must have been something that have happened in 2018, because there was a spike in Lunas, and every other dog we met was called Luna. And we moved to this new estate in 2021, and I think there's about 9 Lunas on this estate alone. There was one next door. It was a little tiny Chihuahua called Luna. And every other dog we met was being called Luna. Was there a spike in doggies called Luna? No. It was that our RAS was now tuned in and bringing that to our attention. But let's start to think about how this can help you when it comes to your potential and being the best versions of yourself. We know that the world quite often values extroverted qualities like outgoingness and assertiveness. And I think as introverts, we can feel overlooked and misunderstood at times because of this. But here's the truth. Introverts possess unique strengths as well. And when we leverage those effectively, we can be truly unstoppable. But let me tell you about how this works then. So your brain is like a giant sieve. It's sieving billions of pieces of information every single second. And because of the things you're thinking about, it's trying to bring to your attention what it thinks you will be interested in. So, it's doing this so quickly. And something I like to say when I'm working with people is, look, if you're in a town, look for football shirts. So I quite often say when people walk to my sessions, how many Newcastle United football shirts did you see on your walk to the session? And they might say, oh, not many, maybe one. And I say, okay, on the way to your next lecture, look for as many Newcastle United football shirts as you possibly can. And then when I see them the next week, quite often they're like, oh, I saw 15 in a 10-minute walk, or I saw 12 in a 5-minute walk. And it's not that those Newcastle United shirts weren't there in the first example, it's because they weren't looking for them. And when you start looking for them, you will start to find them. And this is when it comes to yourself. You know, when you're starting to focus on all the things you're not good at, that is what your brain brings your attention to. But if you can start to focus on the things you are good at or are looking for, your brain will start to find them. Now, last example before we get into how you actually do this. My wife and I were on a road trip a few years ago when we first were learning about the RAS, and she loves listening to crime podcasts. And on one of these crime podcasts, they were talking about the DHL owner, so the person who created those DHL delivery companies, obviously hugely successful person. And in this crime podcast, they were talking about, you know, this person had evaded the law and all these different things. And then Laura and I got to thinking, you never see DHL vans on the road anymore, do you? Back in the 2000s, that's all you would see. Those yellow vans with the right writing, with the big DHL on the side. And now all you see is the DPD vans or the Amazon vans, you know, that sort of stuff. And anyway, we listened to the podcast, and then something really weird happened. As we were driving on the opposite side of the road, we saw at least 3 DHL vans. And then on our side of the road, we overtook at least 3. So before that podcast, we probably would say we hadn't seen a DHL van in about, I don't know, 10 years. And then as we were listening to the podcast, we then saw 6 during a 45-minute episode on a stretch of road that, you know, we drive all the time. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, that's coincidence. And that is sometimes what RAS is labeled as. Oh, it's just a coincidence you met this person. It's just a coincidence you have brought this opportunity into your life, you know, that sort of thing. However, those DHL vans were always there driving that road. They hadn't gone out of business. I assume they're still in business when this podcast is going out. But our RAS system, whilst we were listening to that podcast, realized, oh, David and Laura want me to bring any DHL vans that are driving up and down this road to their attention. So every time one was passing, our brain almost put like a big arrow towards it and said, here's the DHL vans that you've been missing for so many years. And we were like, bloody hell, we've just seen 6 DHL vans while we were listening to a podcast about DHL vans. Is that a coincidence or not? I don't know. I'll leave that with you. But essentially, similar with the car and with Luna's name, you're bringing what you were looking for into existence. And that's a really powerful tool to be able to acknowledge and start to use. Now, in The Secret, and I'd suggest you go and find The Secret and enjoy reading it. It is a really interesting read, and pick the bits that work for you. You do what we've done with the Luna situation and with the Nissan Qashqai situation and the DHL van situation, but with your ambitions and goals. So when you're dream casting, when you're thinking about your ambitions, you know, you can start to think about what you are actually wanting from in this life. So you can start to think about things like, I want to meet people who are going to be incredibly impactful on my life. I want to start to create a group of people who are really empowering. I want to build a network that is going to help me achieve my business goals. I want to build a product around my interests that's going to allow me to leave my full-time job? And you ask yourself these questions, or you almost make these affirmations, and they then work with your RAS, your unconscious mind, to filter these types of people and these opportunities into your life. And that, in a nutshell, is what the RAS is. So there's a great quote by Tony Robbins who says, where focus goes, energy flows. And that's similar to what we're talking about here. It's whatever you focus on is going to bring you that success. It's going to bring whatever that is into your life. And the real trick behind this is when you start to focus your mind on what it is you do want, opportunities start to build around you. Now, something I haven't mentioned yet is I've got an interview today with someone called Kieran Leggett, who is a high performance fitness coach, and I was procrastinating a little bit on getting guests for my podcast because I was worried about my Wi-Fi signal. Basically, I haven't got very good Wi-Fi, and I was like, oh, how am I going to get guests, and is this the right time? I need a sign, I need a sign that I need to do this. And within 24 hours I had a message in my inbox from Kieran saying that he found the show, loved the show, thought it was really impactful and we were doing some great work, and that he thought he could add something as a guest. And I got that message and thought, I've invited Kieran into my life here to be part of the show. And I was so grateful that he reached out, and then we organized an interview for later today, which is going to be incredible. His story's amazing. I'm not going to tell you what that is now, but definitely check back in a couple of weeks' time to listen to that one. But my RAS was working overtime because all I was thinking about was guests for my podcast. Who should I invite on? Is this the right time? Am I thinking about the obstacles, or can I turn this into a positive? What if my Wi-Fi doesn't hold up? And all I was thinking about was my podcast and possible guests that could come on. So I was able to use my RAS in a positive way, and Kieran then coincidentally popped up. So now we have an incredible guest. I've got almost 10 guests lined up, ready to go, and that's just for March and the start of April. So it's an incredibly exciting time, and suddenly my RAS has provided me with this base of people, and I'm so thankful for that. So yeah, it's a really powerful tool, and it's all about focusing on those empowering beliefs, those empowering thoughts, and then you're going to start to attract some real positive things into your life. So a couple of examples just to kind of make you think about what this might be for you. Take, for example, Susan. She's a self-proclaimed introvert with dreams of starting her own business. Despite her passion and determination, Susan found herself held back by feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. However, by intentionally programming her RAS to seek out opportunities for growth and success, Susan was able to silence her inner critic and take bold steps towards her entrepreneurial goals. Remember, where the focus goes, the energy flows. So make sure you're focusing on that positive. You're making those steps to have a positive impact on whatever it is you want to do. Another example, James, an introverted college student struggling to navigate the social landscape of campus life. Whilst his extroverted peers seemed to thrive in networking and building connections, James felt out of place and overwhelmed. Instead of trying to force himself to fit the mold of a stereotypical networker, James chose to work with his RAS, focusing on quality over quantity and nurturing meaningful relationships with like-minded people. As a result, James not only found success in his academic pursuits, but also cultivated a powerful network of mentors and collaborators who supported him every step of the way. So I think with that example as well, that quality over quantity, you can really create some amazing relationships, you can create amazing networks, you can start to escape the situations you're currently in, all by focusing on what it is you actually want. And your RAS will provide that for you. Now, the trick with this is that because you are focusing on what it is you actually want rather than what you don't want, you're also going to be working harder to get that goal, and it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you start to think, right, I want to achieve Z, I'm doing X with my RAS, I'm now also going to do Y, which might be practical actions, and you start to actually take real amazing action towards achieving whatever goal that you've set yourself. I suppose the beauty of RAS is that it's a tool available to everyone, regardless of personality type or your background or where you're currently at. You can start to use this technique immediately, whether you're an introvert, whether you are an extrovert and listening to this, or even somewhere in between. You have the power to harness the full potential of your mind and create the life you've always dreamed of. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And I think it's very easy to fall into that negative thought. But if you really bring your mindset back to the RAS, it is going to allow you to focus on things in a really positive way. But let's get into how you can actually start harnessing the power of this today. Firstly, begin by setting clear, specific goals that align with your values and aspirations. We've got to know what it is you're looking for. So something that I found unhelpful is things like, oh, just think of something more positive. And you think, well, that doesn't really help me. But if you can get really specific and clear on those goals, we can have a laser focused aim on what it is you actually want. Make sure that those goals align with your values, with your aspirations, with your family, whatever you've got going on. There needs to be alignment rather than a clash here. And then start to visualize your success in vivid detail. We've done some visualization exercises previously, and by allowing your RAS to lock into opportunities and resources, that will help you achieve those objectives. Because when it knows what you're working with, it'll start to use those as almost resources to provide you with thoughts and opportunities that you may not have thought about. And then start to surround yourself with positive influences and immerse yourself in environments that support your growth and development. Practice that mindfulness, practice that awareness, tune into your thoughts and emotions to identify any limiting beliefs or those negative patterns that might be holding you back, because they hold us back. And if we can start to get those moved out the way, it provides a clear path for you to go and actually become the most unstoppable introvert that you can be. And then replace those barriers with empowering affirmations, empowering beliefs that reinforce your worthiness, your potential, whatever it is that's going to help you become great. And finally, and the most important part of all of this, take consistent action towards that goal. Trust the guidance of your RAS system to lead you in the right direction, because it is providing the information. You just have to acknowledge it and then work your face off to make it come true. Because that's the bit that sometimes loses a few people. It's the bit where you think, if I just think about this thing enough, then I'm going to be able to achieve it. No, that isn't going to happen. There isn't a technique in the world where if you think hard enough, the thing that you're thinking about will just happen. No, it won't. You have to apply daily incredible action, and you have to be willing to put the blood, the sweat, the tears into achieving your goals. And you need to have a specific plan. You need to have specific steps. You need to have certain checkpoints. You need to be working a certain amount of time. You need to be working in a smart manner. And you need to be outworking those in your field as well. So it takes time, it takes effort, but with the right focus, you can really take great strides to achieving your goals. And that's the most exciting thing for me. And it's working with your RAS in a positive way that is going to really make the difference here. So spend time tuning into your thoughts and your feelings and emotions, and get messy. Allow your unconscious mind to take over, to present information to you that you can acknowledge or dismiss, but allow it to lead you towards your goals. Remember, it's sieving millions and billions of pieces of information every single day. And instead of you ignoring it or even focusing on bits of information that aren't particularly helpful, by focusing on it, it will lead you towards whatever goals and ambitions you might have, which is an incredibly exciting place to be. And when you start to understand the Reticular Activating System, you'll start to see it in your life in a positive and negative. So I really hope that this has helped today. And I'm so grateful for everybody that is following the podcast, who's liked the YouTube channel, all that sort of stuff. Please keep sharing this. If you know anybody who it could help, if you know any introverts who are struggling and they want to be a bit more unstoppable, send them my way at Dr. David Hooper on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Facebook. And also you can find us on Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, just search the Unstoppable Introvert Project, and we can continue to help clear the path to help introverts become their best amazing selves, because I believe you have greatness within you. And I just want to say I'm so thankful. I hope the RAS system will help you. Remember, focus on the things you can control. Focus on the things that you want to achieve. Allow your RAS to lead the way when it comes to you going and achieving everything you want to in this world, because it will leave signs. It will leave signs, and it's up to you to then acknowledge those signs and apply crazy amounts of work for you to go and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, which I think is going to be world changing. So there's some incredible introverts who are about to change the world. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Remember, being an introvert isn't the thing that will hold you back. It is the thing that will make you unstoppable. So until next time, stay unstoppable.